Welcome back to another episode of our Koe no Katachi podcast. As usual, I'm your co-host, Patrick Waruntu.
And I'm your other co-host, Colin McCutcheon.
In our first episode, we left off with an introduction and explained what our podcast would be about. Now, we will head into a brief analysis over a scene in the movie.
The specific scene that we'll be looking at today is found near the beginning of the film, from the time Shoko starts to get bullied and mocked to when the bullying transitions over to Shoya.
So really at the beginning of the scene, the soundtrack is LVS and it has this bubbly sound when Shoko tries to integrate herself with the group.
Yeah, and this bubbly sound that is seen with this track is mainly to showcase how Shoko is particularly hopeful about her situation. She's just arrived at the school and she's trying to make friends, specifically with Ueno and Kawai, and that's why her initial, I guess, stance on her new school is hopeful, and she also tries to make friends with Shoya, but
The teacher tries to integrate the kids to learn sign language.
yeah, and so the teacher is trying to the music is still bubbly during this up to this point, but as soon as Ueno starts to push back against learning sign language, thinking it's not necessary, it's a waste of time, that's when the music stops being as bubbly as it is, and it turns to more sparse piano notes to kind of signify how the situation is no longer hopeful for Shoya or Shoko.
Yeah, like you said about that piano part, something important to note is that the composer for like all the soundtracks, Kensuke Ushio, said that he really wanted to use piano because he felt that the piano could control the noise as much as possible, kind of to like show Shoko's deafness and like how the hearing aid works. And he said that he wanted the surround sound of the piano noises to fill the music theater in an interview, and that it could really show the audience how her deafness really feels.
Yeah, and the piano mention continues into the next part of the scene where Sahara is one of the other minor characters. She tries to help Shoko integrate by herself learning sign language, but Ueno keeps pressuring Sahara, that is, to stop doing this because it's not, or I guess it's not cool. It's not what other kids are doing. She's kind of like a weird kid by trying to socialize with this deaf girl that no one really is keen on or is trying to be friends with. And during this part of the scene where she's trying to socialize with Shoko, the piano kind of takes or goes into the background rather, and this use of silence or lack of music rather kind of emphasizes the emotional stress that Sahara is experiencing as a result of Ueno's pressure to stop socializing with
Yeah, I
Shoko.
really felt like these pauses within the piano notes really seemed to add pressure onto Sahara and show like how she was feeling without like taking over the screen.
Yeah, and this is used throughout the film a lot, where it's really the absence of a significant track or
Constant melody.
Yeah, constant melody. Like melody isn't used that often. It's more of the absence of, I guess, music that kind of stresses what the theme is trying to be conveyed by the composer and the director.
Yeah, and so moving on from this, later on in the movie, when they start messing around with Shoko's hearing aids, the theme of the music takes a complete turn, where there's like really heavy piano beating, almost like comedy actually.
Yeah, it's only played for a few seconds, but it kind of really emphasizes the scene from Shoya's viewpoint, where this is just a game for him. This is like exciting, this moment of brief excitement where he like casts the hearing aid out the window because he thinks it's fun. He's making fun or bullying Shoko, and he's getting results from it. People are looking at him. People are like in the moment with him. but it's also obviously to the detriment of Shoko.
Yeah, and that music really cuts like really quickly, as it like transitions from Shoko being bullied to then how Shoya is dealing with the punishments.
This transition to Shoya being the one at the brunt of the bullying is seen in the part of the scene where his teacher calls him out in front of the entire class for destroying Shoko's expensive hearing aids multiple times to the point of angering Shoko's parents. During this part of the scene, there is no music being played, and other than the teacher's voice, it is completely silent. The teacher is singling out only Shoya for the destruction of the hearing aids and only confronts the friends that helped Shoko in the bullying to add on the blame to Shoya. These so-called friends take no responsibility for their involvement in bullying Shoko. This kind of plays into the idea of silence, and we have a quote from an article titled "The Sound of Silence in the Music Classroom" from EBSCOhost. It says, "Communication is an unspoken agreement, ironically achieved through many words. In the classroom, superficial communication manifests itself in the raising of hands, the sharing of information, and the assessment of students. Teachers can use silence, their own silence, to communicate more deeply and to encourage children's growth and independence. The idea of silence in the scene is both present in the literal lack of music and Shoya's friends' figurative silence and their denial of any involvement with bullying. The teacher is also particularly silent in the figurative sense, as he chooses to remain blind to the possibility of any involvement of Shoya's friends in the bullying. The literal silence, or lack of music in this case, is in this part of the scene emphasizes the idea that no one is speaking up for Shoya. He is isolated and is prosecuted alone in silence." So this kind of encourages a false idea in everyone's minds that they can get away with this bullying, which is not a good mindset to push on kids at an early age.
Yeah.
And so
That marks the end of episode 2.
Yep.
See you guys next
in the next
time.
episode.